Hello, Tay. I've been fine. Thank you very much. I had a change of plan, so I'm able to join the class today. I hope it's okay.
No, that's wonderful. Yeah, we love to have you. Yeah.
Thank you, Tay.
Okay, go ahead, Thân Thiện. Let's start the class, Thân Thiện.
Namo Sakamuni Buddha, Namo Sakamuni Buddha, Namo Sakamuni Buddha.
Thank you. Hopefully, we will join. Otherwise, I think he still have vacation. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let me share with you the screen. Yeah, go ahead, Thân Thiện. Can you read, please?
Yeah, most of the at that time, the great universal wisdom excellent thus come one, receiving entreaty from the Brahma kings of the 10 directions and from the 16 princes immediately gave three turning to the 12 spoke wheel of the law. Neither Rama, Brahma, heavenly beings, Deva, Brahma, nor any other being in the world was capable of such a turning. He said, here is suffering, here is the origin of suffering, here is the annihilation of suffering, here is the path of uh, annihilation of suffering. Then he broadly expounded the law of the 12 link chain of causation. Ignorance causes action, action causes consciousness, consciousness causes name and form, name and form cause the six sense organs. The six sense organs cause contact. Contact causes sensation. Sensation causes desire. Desire causes attachment. Attachment causes existence. Existence causes birth. Birth causes old age and death. Worry and grief. Suffering and anguish. Um, from what I understand is that the great universal wisdom excellent that's come one. So he received entreaty from the Brahma kings of the 10 directions and from the 16 princesses. And then he gave the three turning to the 12 spoke wheel of the law. Um, I think this is what he means. He turning the wheel to in order to share the dharma to the people so that they can be able to understand. Um, so so these kind of living beings like Sramana, Brahmin, and other beings are not was capable of such a turning. So here he spoke about the Four Noble Truths, and then he talked about the 12 link chains of causation. It's something that he showed the teaching so that we can understand why we take a rebirth, why we have to go through the cycle of birth and death, and he showed us through this ignorant causes action and so on, so that we can understand and how so that how can we be able to end the cycle of birth and death. So he's going through the teaching and help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how I understand.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so due to their request, right, the Buddha turned Dhamma wheel. So he spoke the Four Noble Truths and 12 clean conditions, right? We discussed about that already. Yeah.
Hey, may I ask a question? Can
Yeah,
you scroll back down? Yes, thanks for letting me feel free to ask questions. I hope it's okay. I never felt self-conscious or anything about asking questions, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
I
please.
wanted to know a few things. The turning the wheel of the law, of the Dharma, and I read that a lot in the sutras. Is that metaphoric as opposed to literal? And what is the significance of the 12 spokes wheel of the law? If it is, whether metaphoric or literal, what are the significance of these numbers, the 3 turnings and the 12 spoke wheel? So the first question is it a literal wheel of that he turns, or I assume in my mind it's a metaphoric wheel of the law?
Yeah. So whenever you heard that, Buddha turned Dhamma wheel, that means he start to give the teaching. And here, 3 turns, 3 turnings, just means 3 times. He spoke 12 spoke wheel of law, that means here, the wheel list here, 12 clean condition. I think we spoke in length in the past, right? I don't know whether you remember. We discussed about how ignorance start, that caused our karma that we did in the past, and the action or the karma uh, was in the form of consciousness. It can go into our life, this life, and from that it's drain the body and the mind. I don't know whether you remember that, or I want to review with that.
Yes, I do remember us discussing about that, but if we can review it briefly, I think that would be quite beneficial as well.
Okay, good. So you understand. So basically, he taught 3 times about this 12 clean condition. That's what we call 3 turnings. It makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Here, let me be with me. Let me type this one so that you can see much clearer. So tell me, you don't understand much about the 12 clean condition yet, right? Or you remember anything in the past that I mentioned that or not?
The 12 length conditions, meaning the ignorance and the craving and that whole cycle.
Yeah, you remember?
Yeah, somewhat. I remember better if I see the picture, but yeah, I remember the cycle.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it represented though. The 12 and the wheel. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
same.
what we call here. That's one here. Yeah. You recognize Mr. Thân Yu, right? It's in past life. Remember?
Yes.
We did talk
We
in length, right?
Yes, we did talk about it a few times before, I believe.
Yeah. So basically, in the past, because ignorance does mean that you don't understand things. Which sometimes we understand, sometimes we don't. So we raise some kind of mental formation. That's the karma, and the karma that's in the past life is in the form of consciousness. That kind of energy, consciousness, is transferred to this life, present life. And when we have this consciousness, we have body and mind. When we have body and mind, we have six sense, right? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. When we have six sense, we have contact with external condition. The eye see the sign, the ear hear the sound, and when we have contact, we have sensation, we have feeling. When we see the flower, we have good feeling. When we taste the food, is whether it's it tastes good or bad, we recognize. And when we have that feeling, we like that type of feeling, or we don't like that feeling, right? And we let's say we taste the ice cream and we like it. When we like the ice cream, we want to have more. We want to have to keep that ice cream. We want to drink more ice cream, and we want to have more. That's the craving. So that's why we move on to the next slide: birth, aging, and death. So, like I gave the example that um, we want to continue to have this life. Like when we break our phone, we need to use another one because we use of that. So when we're done with this life, we move on to look for another form of lives. So that's the cycle here. That's the 12 chin, the 12 chain link, 12 links. This mean they link together. So the Buddha say 3 times: if we break the ignorance, the other link will be broken. If we could not break those links, would tie us down in this samsara cycle of birth. And that's explain how we come about. That's quite different from other traditions. They say, oh, we were born from some god or creators. But here the Buddha explained that we were born from our own ignorance, from our own karma, and which just lead us in this cycle. Mm. Yeah. Mm. It makes sense, Mr. Thang Như?
Yes, it does. But just out of curiosity, in this 12 link chain of origination, does it specifically, do you think it is only, and I know the ignorance is the way to break the cycle, but does it necessarily have to be just ignorance as opposed to breaking any of the link, any other link?
If, let's say, if we break the craving here, if we break one link, all the links will fall apart.
Yes.
So that's what it's about. Let's say if we don't attach to our desire, right? This will break out the ring. It makes sense, Mr. Như?
Yes, Tay. And is it sufficient? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, definitely. That's why. That's why when we meditate, we train our mind to let go of those attachment, those desire, those craving. So eventually we can be free from this samsara, this cycle of birth. If we have any small attachment, we still here. So any kind of attachment, whether it's attachment to our body, our mind, our family members, our possessions, property, whichever attachment we have, we stuck. We be stuck here. We can say it's forever until we practice meditation or make the vows to practice Bodhisattva path and so forth. Yeah. Tammy, you understand, right, Tammy?
Yes. In the other class I took, they said that it was only with craving it could be broken though. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, that's one. But let's say if we don't have much feeling or sensation, or basically if our six sense, we can control our six sense organs. We could be free. We could be at ease. Let's say when we see the sign, or when we hear someone praise us, or scores, if we remain calm and peaceful, so no one can disturb our peacefulness, no one can disturb our calmness. But most of the time it would not be happen, right? Most of the time we based upon how people praise us, how people put down us to do things. That's why our mind always fluctuated. Is that my sense, Miss Thang Như?
Yes, Thầy. Thank you very much. It's clear.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let me go back. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. Would you mind to read next, Miss Thang Như?
Yes, Thầy. If ignorance is wiped out, then action will be wiped out. If action is wiped out, then consciousness will be wiped out. If consciousness is wiped out, then name and form will be wiped out. If name and form are wiped out, then the six sense organs will be wiped out. Then contact will be wiped out. If contact is wiped out, then sensation will be wiped out. If sensation is wiped out, then desire is wiped out. If desire is wiped out, then birth will be wiped out. If birth is wiped out, then old age and death will be wiped out. If birth is wiped out, then old age and death, worry and grief, suffering and anguish will be wiped out. When the Buddha, in the midst of the great assembly of heavenly and human beings, expounded this law, 610,000 million nayutas of persons, because they ceased to accept any of the things of the phenomenal world, and because their minds were able to attain liberation from the outflows, all achieved profound and wonderful meditation practice, acquired the three understandings and the six transcendental powers, and were endowed with the 8 emancipations. And when he expounded the second, third, and fourth laws, living beings equaled the 1,000, 10,000 millions of Ganges sands of Nayutas, because they likewise ceased to accept any of the things of the phenomenal world, were able to liberate their minds from the outflows. From that time on, the multitude of voice hearers became innumerable, boundless, incapable of being counted. To summarize, so basically the 12 link chain of origination, if one of the link is wiped out, then the next link would also be wiped out. So likewise, one is connected to the other by the links, just like a chain. But if one of the link is broken, just like a chain, then the chain will not be continuous, and then the cycle would be broken. And then once the cycle is broken, then the suffering and the anguish that accompanies humans will be exterminated as well. And then the second part, it says that when the Buddha completed expounding or lecturing this law, then 610,000 millions of people, because they discontinued their attachment to the world, because their mind is liberated, because of their meditative practice, they were able to acquire 3 understandings, 6 transcendental powers, and 8 emancipations. And then when he continued on with lecturing the law, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th laws, many people were able to again disconnect from the phenomenon of the world, discontinue their attachments, they were able to liberate their minds, and many people were emancipated.
You know the 6th transcendental power?
Yes, we have talked about that before, but I don't know it very well. So that's the part I wanted to ask you to clarify: the 3 understandings, the 6 transcendental powers, and the 8 emancipations. If I were to look it up, I think I would be able to find the information, but since we were talking about it, I was hoping you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, okay. Thầy Giáo Pháp, you remember?
Yeah, do that. I think I remember. I think it's the divine eye. That means the first one. The second one is the divine ear. They can listen for. The third one is the power that they can be able to read the other people's mind. The fourth one is the one that they can be able to see the past life. The fifth one is they can be able to make things big to small, small to big. They can disappear, make things disappear and appear. The sixth one is the most important one is the outflow. That means cut off the outflow. They call it non-outflow. No more desire. That is the one who's certified to be the Arhat.
About the three understanding, do you remember?
Three understanding the divine eye. That means they can see the living being die and reborn in many times. The second one is they be able to see the past life of all the living beings. And the third one is thằng túc thông, thằng túc, tha tâm thâm, let me see. Tam minh lục thông, tam minh lục thông, ok. Thiên nhãn minh, tha tâm minh. Lậu tầng minh, okay, lậu tầng minh. That means the sixth one. That means the outflow, the non-outflow understanding. That means they, with that one, they be able to know all the living being problem, the affliction. They be able to use the right to give the right the proper teaching to help the living being. I think.
But a liberation is easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
A liberation.
A liberation. What do you mean to that?
Yeah, that's here. Emancipation.
Emancipation.
That's mean liberation.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, this I think we could not remember all. Let me show you here. This is what a liberation is about. Liberation from perceptual desire for form by visualizing the impurity of external object. So when we see things and we recognize the impurity, we would not attach to them. Liberation from imperceptible desire for form by visualizing the impurity of external object. Liberation from all desire for form by visualize the purity of external object. Liberation from visualization of purity of external object through mental state of boundless space. Is that understandable, Ms. Thang Như? And that's what here, this part is explained.
Okay.
A liberation.
I'm going to read the first part because the second, the 8 liberations as explained makes more sense. The one that you read first through samadhi power, that does not make sense to me. I have to process that a little bit more.
Which one? This one? The top?
No, yes, this one that the arrow is on is a little bit harder to understand, but the paragraph on the top, that's easier to understand.
This one here?
Yes.
Okay, from subjective desire that have arisen. That means they free from desire, right?
Yes.
arising of no subjective desire during meditation. So basically, this is not explanation. Yeah. So if you understand this part, that's fine. So liberation from by concentration upon the pure and gaining freedom from all desire. Liberation from realizing immaturity, liberation from realizing infinite knowledge, liberation from realizing non-localities, liberation of the mind having neither thoughts nor absence of thoughts, and liberation of nirvana. So, so they have different explanation.
Thầy, what is the realization of non-locality?
That means there's no attachment to the locations, because let me put it this way. I used to say that when they fly on the airplane and look down, we see all kind of houses, mountain, forest, people down there. But when we look up, this is the blue sky. So when we look at the blue sky, there is no limit, no boundary, no location. But when we look down on earth, so we have the house, we have the boundary, we have the location of this California, this Indiana, and so forth. So with that categorization, there's no attachment to the location. It makes sense?
Yes, Thầy, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the liberation of nirvana, is that what we've spoken about, that even though it's non-intuitive, that we attain, or we think that we attain nirvana, but we cannot attach ourselves to the actual goal itself?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So nirvana, the definition is the ultimate peace. So if someone attend to that state of mind, that's what we call liberation. But for us, sometimes we have some sort of peace. Sometimes, or most of the time, our mind turbulence. That means we have all kind of things to think about, all kind of things we worry about. That's why our mind not peaceful yet. But for the arhat, the one who practice meditation and they attain to that state of mind, the complete stillness, the complete calmness. Make sense, Mr. Yu?
Yes, Tay. So I assume that in our path of practice, if we are suffering, if the mind is in turmoil in that path, then that is something that is indicates the lack of liberation as well.
Definitely. Here, when we talk about liberation, it's opposites with attachment. Right? When we have certain type of attachment, we tie down whichever things, with our food, with our clothes, with our family members, with our job, whichever, we tie them down. But when we don't have some sort of attachment, that we're free. I don't know whether I give you this type of story or not. Let me tell you one more time. If you heard already, just let me know. So one day, let's put this way. At one temple, there was an old monk and a young novice. So one day, there's one monk. He came there and asked for staying overnight. So the monk in charge of the temple said, yes, okay, you can stay overnight. And what happened then? So this monk, he used to let his spirit go out his body so that he can fly somewhere else to search something else. And what happened then? People got to get back to his body. And the next few days, so the monk in charge of the temple opened the door, and so somehow he recognized the dead corpse of the Buddhist monk, and somehow both of them, the teacher, the master, and the student, dig the hole to bury that monk corpse. And later on, at night, the spirit of that monk came back and looked for his body, and he keeps saying, "Give me back my body, give me back my body." It's so scary that the monk would not let any monks to stay overnight at all. So later on, there's another monk. He traveled around. He asked. Actually, he ended up at that temple and asked for staying overnight. So uh, this master, the one in charge of the temple, said, "I'm sorry, it's too much for me to handle. So we cannot let you to stay overnight." And remember, in our tradition, for monks like me, if I go to China, if I go to Vietnam, most of the time, if I want to stay overnight, they would let me know. They would let me to stay overnight for a few more nights, for a week and so forth, but not for long. But that's the tradition. So this second monk, he said, "Well, don't worry. I stay here and it would not bother you anymore." So he asked further, "What happened in then? Why don't you allow me to stay?" So the head monk at that temple said that, "Well, recently one monk came here and asked me to allow him to stay overnight, but now he passed away. So his spirit came back every night to bother us. It's so scary." So that second monk said, "Well, don't worry. Just put me into that room. I can handle that ghost." So, the monk in charge, the master said, "Well, that's great then. If you can help me to dispel or to handle that spirit, that ghost, yeah, you're welcome to stay in that room." So yes, when that second monk stayed in that room at night, and the spirit of the first monk came back and asked, "Give me back the body. Give me back my body." So before the night came, so the second monk somehow he burned, in the past they burned the wood to boil the water, right? So when he was boiling the water, so the spirit of the first monk came back and asked for the body, his physical body. So this second monk point his finger to the pot that he was boiling the water. He said, "Here is the body." So the spirit somehow went to that pot, that boiling water pot, for a while, and got out and said, "No, this is not my body." So so the second monk point his finger to the fire. "Okay, that's your body." So that the spirit jumped in a little bit, and later he got out and said, "No, this is not my body." So the second monk said, "Wow, before when you have this physical or human body, you jump into the fire will burn you. You cannot jump into the boiling water, will burn you. But now you're free to jump into the boiling water and the fire. What else you need? What type of body you need then?" At that moment, the spirit left forever. They will not come back anymore. Do you understand the story, Tammy? Should you follow my story, Tammy?
I understand. I think that's the first time I heard that story.
Oh, yeah.
So because he flew out, so because he left his body, then they thought he was deceased. So they went ahead and got rid of the body. So then he was floating around trying to find his body, but it didn't exist anymore. But they were like, "Really, you've been liberated because you can do whatever you want, go into whatever place you want." So did he just go find another body after that he finally realized?
No, he
when he
realized.
disappeared?
No, he realized that he doesn't need to attach. He didn't need to attach to anybody. That's why. That's why he would not come back anymore. Yeah. Thông Nguyễn, you got that idea, Thông Nguyễn?
Yes, thưa thầy, I get that.
Yeah. Okay. So Miss Thăng Như, you got the points now?
Yes, thầy, that's a funny story, but
Yeah, I
very
love that.
profound.
Yeah, I love that story. But again, that is Zen story that is easy for us to remember. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's.
But hey, I didn't understand. If you can go back to the paragraph,
Yeah.
The previous that we read, please.
This one here. This...
No, the sutra itself.
Oh, okay.
The 3 understandings. Can you review that again?
The 3 understanding. They okay. The what we call in Vietnamese tám minh. That's Thân Nguyễn. You remember tám minh? Tám minh lục thông. You remember that?
No, thưa thầy.
So basically, the first one, the most important one is Lậu Tận Thông. Lậu Tận Minh is just mean that there's no more outflow. You understand there's no more outflow. The wisdom of recognition of there's no more outflow. That means there's no attachment, there's no desire. I think yeah, let me check one more time and make sure I don't want to say something wrongly. Okay, let me check with the Vietnamese word. Yeah. Okay, here it say that that is the wisdom of the Buddha. Okay, yeah, the first one is Lậu Tận Minh. That means the wisdom that the Buddha cut off all the outflow. There's no attachment for him at all. That's the first one. And the second one is the divine eyes, like Thầy Giáo Pháp just mentioned. That means the Buddha has that kind of wisdom, that kind of divine eyes that could see through everything. And the last one, Túc Mạng Minh, that means he has the psychic power to recognize or to remember about his past life as well as sentient beings' life, past life. Does that make sense, Mr. Thân Như?
Yes, thầy.
So please remember 3. The first one, the wisdom of non-outflow. The second one, the wisdom through second eyes. The third one is the wisdom through understanding or remembering the past life, his past life, as well as all sentient being past life. That's why when the Buddha gave the teaching, sometimes he based upon the karmas of his student to give the teaching accordingly. For example, let's say if he recognized that someone in the past they have practiced meditation, or like the monks and nuns, he would give the detailed teachings. Or if he recognized, or if he could use his wisdom to recognize that lay person in the past, they have offered support the Sangha, the Buddha would give them that kind of appropriate teachings. Like there's one story about the old man. He was above 80 years old. So he went to temple to ask for being ordained, but the arhat reject him because they could not recognize his karma in the past. So later on, the Buddha accept him, and within a week he attained arhatship. So because the Buddha recognized his past like karma, and it is much easy to teach others if we know who they are. Yeah, it makes sense, Mr. Thân Như.
Yes, thầy. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So
Tutai, can you explain again the divine eyes?
Oh, divine eyes. That means the Buddha could see through everything with his wisdom. He could see through everything. He could recognize things. Like, for example, let's say if you stay in California, and if you have that kind of divine eyes, you can see clearly without using any kind of security cameras of anyone else's house, anyone else's properties, wherever or whoever you want to see, you can see that clearly. You get that, Miss Thân Như, Miss Thân Tư?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yeah, Mô Phật và thầy. I put some additional information in the chat if you guys somebody wanna find out more about those Tamana. Yeah, Mô Phật.
Actually, the first one is not suicide. No, that's one. That is the what do you call the wisdom of non-outflow. That means he has that wisdom due to his pure mind, due to his detachment from things. Yeah, let's say for us, if we go to restaurant, okay, and other people order all kind of meal, right, all kind of food, because they have some type of appetize. So I want order different type of dishes. But if let's say if we don't have any attachment to any kind of dishes, so we can see through things that okay, they put so much seasoning, they put so much oil and so forth. This may not be healthy, that we can see through. But for all people, it's their flavor, right? For example, they like to have noodles, like to have rice soup, whichever. But for us, if we recognize us, it's unhealthy. But for them, it's that good. That's why they order that kind of dishes. It makes sense. And Jimmy, so sometimes if you put in the Google translation, somehow it doesn't translate clearly.
Yeah, Mô Phật. Yeah, con cảm ơn thầy. Yeah, thầy.
Okay, let's move on then. Yeah, sometimes this type of principle and definition we may not remember all, but it's there. It's the convenience way for us to remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tammy, you like to read, please?
At that time, the 16 princes all left their families while still young boys and became Manras. Their faculties were penetrating and sharp. Their wisdom was bright and comprehending. Already in the past, they had offered alms to 100,000, 10,000 million Buddhas, had carried out Brahma practices in a flawless manner, and had striven to attain a Nada Samaka Sambhada Altogether, they addressed the Buddha, saying, World Honored One, these innumerable thousands, 10,000, millions of voice healers of great virtue have already achieved success. World Honored One, now it is fitting that you should preach the law of an Nadara Samaka Sambuddha for our sake is that once we have heard it, we all may join in practicing and studying it. World Honored One, we are determined to attain the insight of the thus come one. Deep in our minds, we have this in thought, as the Buddha himself must know. So this is the princes, before it was the kings, but the princes all that had given lots of different gifts to the Buddhas were asking him to preach the word so that they could all share it together.
Tell me, you know this word, Samaniras, what's mean?
No, I don't.
That's a Sanskrit word for monks.
Okay.
Can I tell you?
And you know what's mean Anuttara Same Sambuddhi? What's mean?
No, I don't know.
That's mean the Buddhahood. Yeah, the final, the full enlightenment one. That's mean the Buddha or the Buddhahood. That's a Sanskrit word.
So all of the princes had become monks and strived to become Buddhas.
Yeah, they try to. Yeah, they wish to become a Buddha like him too. Yeah. Okay. Any question before move on? Yes, Thân Nguyễn, please.
Yes, sir. At that time, the Buddha responding to pleas from Sramaneras passed a period of 20,000 kalpas, and then at last, in the midst of the four kinds of believers, preaches the great Vihai Sutra, entitled the Lotus of the Wonderful Law, a law to instruct the Bodhisattvas, one that is guarded and kept in mind by the Buddhas. After he had preached the sutra, the sitting Sramaneras, for the sake of Anuttara Sambodhi, altogether accept and embrace it, recite and intoned it, penetrate and understood it. Okay, I actually don't understand what Saramaneras is.
Monks.
Yeah. A period of 20,000 kalpas in the midst of the four kinds of believer.
You know who are the four kinds of believers? You know.
I think they are monk, non-layman, and laywoman today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he announced that the wisdom in the Lotus of Wonderful Law, that is the law to give instructions on the Bodhisattva path. And then after that, sitting monks for the sake of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, that is the meditation state, altogether accept and embrace it, recite and intoned it, penetrate and understood it.
This means for the sake of Buddhahood. Anuttara Sambuddhi, this means Buddhahood. They seek for Buddhahood. They work on the path of Buddhahood. Yeah, so they decide, embrace, accept, understood what the Buddha taught.
I have a question today. It does mean the Lotus Sutra is actually the instruction for the people who are on the Bodhisattva path, on the way to learn to Buddhahood.
Yeah, that's what I beginning to remember. remember before we started this section, the past Buddha, he emit the light from the middle part of the eyebrows, the one vehicle. That's mean Buddhahood. That's the goal of this Lotus Sutra. Aim for the Buddhahood.
And so there is a chapter saying there are 3 vehicles. So all the kids run out of the burning house, and then the Buddha promised them different chariots, but in the end, everyone will deserve the great chariot that is actually the Buddhahood.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one is Sao Hero. That means the arhatship. Another one is the solitary path, duyên giác, độc giác,
Yeah.
bằng duyên giác, độc giác và Phật thừa.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. Miss, how about Miss Thân Từ? Have you read it yet, please? Miss Thân Từ, have you read it yet?
No, I have not. So we're starting on the when the Buddha preached.
Yeah, please.
Okay. When the Buddha preached this sutra, the 16 Bodhisattva Samaneras all took faith in it and accepted it. And among the multitude of voice hearers, there were also those who believed in it and understood it. But the other 10,000 million types of living beings all gave away doubt and perplexity. The Buddha preached this sutra for a period of 8,000 kalpas, never once stopping to rest. After he had preached this sutra, he entered a quiet room and dwelled in meditation for a period of 84,000 kalpas. At this time, the 16 bodhisattva, so when the Buddha was teaching the sutra, 16,000 bodhisattva all took faith and accepted it. And there were those who understood, and there were multiple voices that believed and understood it. But the other 10,000 million types of living beings did not believe it, and they had doubt. The Buddha preached the sutra for a period of 8,000 kalpas. Not once did he rest. He also preached the sutra and entered in a quiet room in meditation for 84,000 kalpas. That's it, Thay.
We cannot hear you then.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now better.
Okay, so I mean that like at beginning, right? 5,000 monks, nuns, and like people, they left the assembly, but now here, Buddha in the past, he spoke this Dharma, and 1,000 and 10,000 and millions type of living beings, they could not understand the Buddha teaching about this Buddhahood. So that's like nowadays we talk about, you have Buddha nature. Just try to recognize it.
We can't hear you again, Thay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let's see here. Let me try to use this one here. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like before, right? So when the Buddha first gave this kind of teaching, so remember 5,000 monks left him, right? So now this past Buddha, he gave this teaching, and 100,000 of them left the Buddha too, because they could not understand what the Buddha talked about. It's like in our current life, and if we tell the people on the street or wherever that they have Buddha nature, they may not recognize us. They may not believe that. So it's common. It's only for someone that have practice, have a good understand, good recognize. Yeah. Any question?
Thưa thầy, I have a question here. The Buddha teach in 8,000 kalpas.
Yeah.
And then he going for meditation after that for 84,000 kalpas.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that today?
Yeah, we will understand later on. But you think, what do you think? So can the Buddha stay that long in meditation? Remember, one kampas is small kampas. It's like, all right. So in our lifetime, right, from 84,000 age, year old, we come down to 10, and from 10 up to 84,000. That's one small kampas.
Yesterday, I thought that was like a lot. And I was thinking, how many years does he live in order to do this? And
again, yeah, and that's why it's called inconceivable, right? Inconceivable. That for us, I think we discussed before, right? For us, even we sit still for 30 minutes or 1 hour is too long, right? Not talking about one day, not talking about 1 week, but in the past, the Buddha, the holy monks, even our master, a Zen master, they enter samadhi for weeks or for months. For us, common people, we could not have that skill, but for them they can. Yeah, I think we discussed about Venerable Mahakasipa is still in samadhi. That way for the next Buddha, we discussed about that, Đại Thân Nguyễn, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Is it possible?
Yes, thưa thầy.
How is possible, especially you attend 10 great days of retreat, right? Inside meditation, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Thưa thầy, at the beginning of today, when you show the 12 links, chanting links, in the tradition of Vipassana meditations, one of the main focus is to break one of the chant that is the feeling of the sensations. So the technique is to observe any sensation that occur on the body and keep remaining equanimous, which is don't push away or attack to that sensations. So through this state of meditation mind and realizing, actually we realize that there are memory everywhere in any wherever the cells we have on the body, not only the brain, there is some memory in that part of the body. And so in this meditation technique, we learn if there are sensations occur wherever it pain is pleasant and pleasant sensations, our state of mind should stay equanimous and non-attached to it. We don't react our attachment to it, like or dislike. So due to this practice, people break one of the chants that is the sensation, the feelings. Also, therefore, sometimes there are some depend on the karma of that person or the action they did in the past, or the memory that we have in the cells of the whole body. So they call it sankhara. So some sankhara is really difficult to handle. So they there is some there are some sankhara is like some cracks on stone. So very difficult to keep our state of mind stable in that state because it's too much to handle. There are some sankhara that like a foot mark on the sand at the sea. So after the water flew away, we don't see that back again. And there are sankhara in our memory mind is like we cross the water. Then after that, it's not there, and there are some sankhara is like in the air. But in this technique, some meditation take for some people it's really painful. So 10 minutes for handle one of the sankhara of them is can take forever in the perception of time. And for some people, staying there for hours is very easy. So it's again the timing is the perception of time in the human mind. So that's what I.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and Jimmy, what do you think? You have that kind of experience when you concentrate your mind to in working or doing something, time when quickly, right?
Yes, more for thầy, bà thầy. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes that you focus and concentrate, the time will went by. Or sometimes that if you sit and then you just waiting, the time take forever. So it's just like a perception of our life, how people thinking. That's how I understand. Yeah, more for thầy.
Yeah,
Bà thầy.
discussed before. Remember, I shared with you that video clips, the time, video clips, right? The time and the movement, right? Thang Thiền, remember in our 1 week of meditation here last winter, right? This is a day is still short when you really in tune with meditation, right, Thang Thiền?
Yeah, most of the time. When I started, it seemed like a long time, and I felt in a little bit pain and uncomfortable when I'm sitting too long. And then later on, I'm used to getting pain and uncomfort. If you don't pay attention to it, and if you sit down and meditate, and it would get better, and you don't pay attention to your pain and uncomfortable and anymore. So I think it takes more practice until you get used to it, and you don't feel any sensation, and your mind and your thoughts settle down. And I think you will find joy into meditation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Any more questions? Miss Thang Tư.
Yes, I wanted to ask, I think the last few times you had asked Thang Thing about his meditation progress, and he had mentioned, and I didn't get a chance to ask, the act of anchoring when you meditate. What does that mean?
Sorry, can you repeat one more time?
I think he had mentioned that you had advised him to anchor, and I assume it's to anchor the thoughts or anchor something that had to do something with anchoring, and I didn't understand what that meant.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, basically, when we use breath as the ways for us to focus our mind, we anchor our mind with a breath. That means we focus our mind on the breath instead of letting our mind fly somewhere else. So that's why we start with the breath to recognize the sensation, recognize the air that flow in and out our body. So that's meaning of anchoring our mind. It makes sense, Mr. Như?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So instead of letting our mind to think this and that, we focus on the breath. So we think, we consider the breath as the anchor for our own mind. Yeah, Mr. Như, Mr. Tư, you have any question?
No, I do not. Thank you, Thầy.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So as time is up, let's just finish up here today. Yeah. Right, go ahead, Thăng Thiền, please.
Namo Sakamuni Buddha, Namo Sakamuni Buddha, Namo Sakamuni Buddha.
Thank you. I'll see you then. Thank you.